Welcome back to the man cave. We have here an '06 Infiniti M35X that has a power steering pump that is growling a little bit. So I had the customer check the fluid level and it was low. So it is supposed to be about right here and it is down to about right here. And the steering is noisy and it is hard to turn. So I had the customer fill the reservoir back up and the noise went away and it drove just fine. And he drove it for a little while and the issue came back. So obviously this power steering has a leak somewhere in it. So we're gonna look and see if we can figure where that's at. What we wanna do is we wanna start up here at the top. And we're just gonna look at the hoses. We've got the hose coming out of this power steering reservoir, going down to the pump, no fluid from the pump, no fluid down, return line, no fluid. So we're gonna go ahead and lift this car up and look a little further. So if you look right here, you can clearly see that fluid has been flowing back right through here. If you look right up here, you can see that this boot is very wet and it is ripped right here. And when I push this down just a little bit, it starts to drain fluid out of it. There shouldn't be any fluid in this at all. This boot is a dust boot to keep dust from going into the rack and pinion here. And the fact that it has fluid right here tells me that the seal inside of here has gone bad, which means that this unit needs to be replaced. So we're going to go ahead and replace that unit. I'm going to look at the other side. The boot is also torn on this other side, you can see. And we've got some rust that's got up in here from moisture, which means that this inner tie rod right here, this inner tie rod end is going to be bad because it's been rusted. So the new steering gear will come with the new inner tie rod. So we're going to go ahead and replace this. So the first thing that we're going to do in order to get this rack off of here is we're going to make sure that our tires are straight. We're going to make sure that our steering wheel is straight. And I'm going to tie this steering wheel to the shifter so that it won't turn on me. That way, whenever I pull the steering gear out of it, the steering wheel is not going to try and turn on me and I can put everything back right where it's supposed to be. So we're going to go ahead and pull the wheels off of this. Now this vehicle has splined lug nuts, which means that we have to have this special socket to pull these off. I'm going to go ahead and remove the wheels and then I'll show you the next step. So we're going to remove this cotter pin right here and then we'll take these nuts off and then we're going to use a special tool to push these tie rods away from this spindle. I'm going to go ahead and pull the nuts off and then I'll show you one side when we pull the spindle or the tie rod out. So we're going to take this tapered joint removal tool and we're going to go ahead and we're going to pull the outer tie rods loose on this. Now all we're going to do is just snug this up a little bit, put a little pressure on it. And then if it doesn't come loose, I'll reach in there and tap that spindle just a little bit. Usually they'll go ahead and just break free. They kind of get noisy when they do. So we're going to go ahead and pull this cross member off of here. We've actually got a bolt missing right here that we'll have to replace when we start going back together. But we're going to pull this out of the way. And that'll allow us to get up in here to this steering gear, which is right up in here. So once this is out of the way, we'll be able to access it pretty readily. So now that we've got the cross member out of the way, we can easily access this steering gear here. So what we're going to do, we're going to disconnect this wire right here. We're going to disconnect this hose. And we're going to disconnect this pipe as well. These other two we're going to leave on there. And then we're going to take right here We're going to pull this bolt right here out. And then that will allow this steering gear to separate from this steering column. I'm going to go ahead and mark this just because I like to. So I will mark this with a marker before I pull this out. Once I've got that done, I'm going to remove these two bolts right here. And this steering gear will slide back and down out of the way, and then we can put the new one in. So I'm going to go ahead and put my drain pan underneath of this because this is going to lose some power steering fluid and I don't want it to get all over my floor. So I'm going to go ahead and put this drain pan under it before I pull these two hoses off. So putting this steering gear back in this car, we just followed basically the reverse procedure of pulling it back out. So while we were there, we went ahead and replaced the outer tie rod ends as well because they were both fairly worn. And we decided that since everything was kind of worn, we'd go ahead and replace them. So this is the last step. We've got it here on the alignment machine to set the toe on this car, and we're going to ship it out. Thanks for spending a little time with us here in the man cave. Appreciate you watching our videos. Please hit the like or subscribe buttons and also leave comments. I will try and respond to your comments, and leave me ideas for videos and I will try and make them happen.